Hello folks, Kyle here, Dark 30 Outdoors. Welcome back. Thanks so much for watching. Hey, today I'm going to talk about the best bass bait ever. Okay, now there's a whole lot of ways I could have gone with this, right? Best bait for largemouth bass, best bait for smallmouth bass. I could have done lists, right? Everybody does lists, right? I'm just going to do one lure today, and let's get into it.
Ooh, that feels good.
This is bananas, okay? I got it. Okay, folks, my best bass bait, my best bait for bass, my choice is going to be a spinnerbait. And there's a very logical reason why the spinnerbait is my top choice for bass. There's other baits that would have been good choices, right? A lot of people talk about the jig and chunk trailer, right? Super popular. And that's a really, really good bait. I feel one of the downfalls of that bait is when the water's super murky or dirty, muddy, that bait's not usually going to shine. However, a spinnerbait, something's got flash and color and is a little bit more visible, it's going to apply in those conditions. It's also going to apply in clear water conditions. There's really no conditions where I would look at it and say, okay, spinnerbait's simply not going to work. It will work on all bass, all waters, all seasons. I'm not saying it's a magical bait. That's not really what it is. I'm just saying it's a really, really good bait. It's my best choice. It's versatile. It applies in so many different areas and ways. You can slow it down and slow roll it. We've heard about people slow rolling spinnerbaits early in the spring. You can burn them, you can fish them fast, you can fish them high over weeds. They have a tremendous amount of snaglessness. Okay, see, I just invented a word there. I will try to interject some B-roll. Yesterday it was warm enough, I was able to get out to the lake and just throw my bait around, mostly just showing you how it has snaglessness. These baits, the way they're designed with that Y or V at the top of the bait, it just kind of rolls right over logs, rocks, my hand. The hook isn't even touching my hand. You get my point. It doesn't snag easily. That doesn't mean it won't snag, but it is highly resistant to snagging. It will also rip through reeds. It will also rip through weeds really, really well. So another nice thing about this bait is it is very easy to fish. You can hand a beginner a fishing pole with this lure on the end of it. Tell them to cast it out and reel it in, and they can catch fish. Again, there's some nuances to it. Stay with me. I'm going to bring you a tip. Anyone that fishes spinnerbaits, I don't care if you're a pro, this is a good tip. Some of you probably know this already, but stay with me to the end. I'll bring you a tip in regard to spinnerbaits. Lots of versatility in these baits. You can add bigger blades, get a little bit more thump and a little bit more vibration, or you can downsize them if you're looking to reduce the thump and vibration. There's going to be applications where both things apply. You can fish a little bit bigger bodied spinnerbait. You can add trailers. This one has a twister tail trailer. You can add a swim bait trailer. You can add a soft stick bait trailer. You can do all sorts of things with these baits. Their versatility, I think, is what makes them really, really fantastic. One of the best bass baits, my top choice for bass, especially smallmouth bass, and especially in creeks and rivers. If you've watched my previous videos, you have seen me fishing for smallmouth bass in the creeks and rivers, and I am predominantly throwing a spinnerbait. It will usually be chartreuse and orange. That's kind of my preference, and I like the gold blades. Chartreuse and white is another popular choice of mine. But ultimately, the color isn't super important. Colors on lures typically attract fishermen more than it does the fish. In fact, I've seen some spinnerbaits that have got really, really fancy painted blades where there's a lot of detail in them, and man, spinning and flying through the water, I don't know that really makes a difference. So that's that's an aspect where the lure is really capturing the attention of the fisherman more so rather than the fish. So I covered versatility in the places where they can be fished. I covered flexibility and customization and how you fish it and how you can change the actual bait itself. And then I discussed snaglessness. You can throw this into a tree. You can throw this into a laydown. You can throw this into a pile of rocks. You can throw this into over a log. You can throw it into a Christmas tree. You can throw it into a patch of weeds and some open spots in the weeds. You can throw this up into a gap in the cattails. My point is, it can get snagged. I've gotten them snagged, I promise you. If you're fishing a creek or a river and you throw it up into a root wad, odds are you're gonna be snagged. But most of the time, if you can get that bait on the retrieve and swimming back to you, it will roll up over and around most obstructions that it encounters, and that makes it just really my best bass bait in my arsenal. And lastly, my pro tip for fishing a spinnerbait. This is not necessarily an open water seeking bait. It can be used for that application. But if you really want to maximize the potential of your spinnerbait, target fish it. You'll see this a lot of times in bass tournaments. Guys are making long casts to cover, to very targeted spots. And you want to hit your spot within an inch. So I don't know, longer rod, shorter rod. Longer rods make for those long casts, shorter rods make for more accuracy. You probably want to be a mix of both of them. But you want to get that bait within inches of your spot that you believe that cover it's holding that fish. A lot of times a foot away doesn't get a bite. A lot of times bounce a bait off a rock and chink. You can alert bass to your presence. You can just create a disturbance, and your odds of catching them are far better if you present your bait in a nice clean way before you have disturbed them. So yeah, long cast and pinpoint target that spot. If you see a rock and there's a nice little micro eddy behind it, you want to be within an inch of the bank behind it, right? You don't want to splash into the current break. You don't want to bounce it off the rock and down into the micro eddy. And you could get bit, you could catch that fish. But really, really key on your present, pitching that bait to a target. And the closer you are to the target, the higher your odds are on hooking up. And that's my pro tip. Once again, thank you for watching. I really, really appreciate it. And I promise you this weather's gonna break. It's gonna get nice. I'm gonna get out on the water. I'm gonna bring you some actual fishing content. So stay with me. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.